So thank you very much to the organisers for inviting me to talk today at this Translating Genomics in Oncology event. So I'm going to talk today about funding opportunities and routes for translation within the University Enterprise Zone, which is a new initiative set up by the university to join the dots so that you can navigate Cambridge. So University Enterprise Zones were set up to try and help strengthen the university's role as strategic partners to engage with local enterprise partnerships and also local businesses. And the idea is to stimulate developments of incubator, accelerator, grow on space for small businesses, and to encourage the university and find new ways of the university interacting with businesses and to innovate. So there's 20 university enterprise zones across the UK. This is the announcement of when we got our funding from Research England, so you can take a look at the other ones as well. So the idea obviously is to create a university enterprise zone within Cambridge, but also to link to other university enterprise zones throughout the UK. So why do we need a university enterprise zone? Cambridge is amazing. It's probably why we're all here. We know that the cluster is phenomenal, and that we have, great numbers with 5,000 plus knowledge intensive firms, a huge number of people employed by those firms, and also a huge amount of financial turnover brought in to the Cambridge cluster. So the Cambridge cluster is fueled by excellent research across all disciplines, tech, physics, the biomedical research on numerous campuses. But the potential of the Cambridge cluster, as we know, to contribute at scale to the UK economy is enormous. And we've demonstrated success stories in that. So Cambridge is amazing. But one of the questions is, how do we future-proof the cluster? So it's amazing now, but we want to make sure that it's even more amazing in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time. And one of the ways that the UEZ was set up, or one of the reasons the UEZ was set up to do this, is because we realised the importance to be able to unlock today's technological advances, for example, in big data, artificial intelligence, medtech, digital health, etc., will require the convergence and collaboration of multiple disciplines and sectors so that we can co-create together the transformative therapies of the future. And we also need to think of new ways of working that can bring these different disciplines together. So, for instance, can we bring consortium together? Can we bring increased different ways of funding together? And can we change the way that we have incubator space with cross-discipline and interdisciplinary working? And so one of the things that the cluster and the UEZ was set up to do was to look at the physical space around Cambridge and think about which of those physical spaces could be used, could be opened up with some kind of passport system for people to be able to move around. It's also to get together the groups that are already working in this area to try and create and foster even greater way of connectivity, and making sure that we are all using all of the opportunities in terms of entrepreneurship, incubation hubs and translational research in the Cambridge cluster. So this, I probably need to put a disclaimer on this slide of there is so many fantastic organisations in Cambridge, but I don't think I speak alone when I say that it's quite confusing to navigate. So although we all do work very closely together, it's actually from outside not always easy to see how we're working together, who to go and talk to, and what that particular organisation does. So this is another reason for creating the UEZ, is to have a more coherent and collaborative structure across Cambridge so that we can introduce people to everyone we know and people can get the full benefit of all of these fantastic organisations and everything they do. So thinking about funding, most of these organisations are involved in funding or entrepreneurship in some way or another. So I just thought when I was putting this talk together that it might be useful to present the organisations in a way that shows, what is your question? And when you have a question, where do you go? The intention of this slide is entirely not to be comprehensive. It's just a few examples of the organisations that exist. So there are many other organisations and there are many other opportunities for funding and entrepreneurship, but this is just to get you started and give you an idea of what's out there. So sometimes, for instance, it may be that you've just got an idea for how your research can be applied, but there's some challenges around whether you can progress that idea. So perhaps you don't have the time to follow up the idea because you're so busy in research labs, or you don't necessarily have the business skills to progress the idea. Or perhaps there's other opportunities where it would be useful to have a group of entrepreneurs who can look at that idea, do some market research, stress test the idea. Or perhaps you have an idea, but you need to generate some pilot data and need some funding for very early translational research so that you can get some evidence to go and get a bigger pot of funding to progress that idea. So pump prime funding, for instance, of about 50 to 80k could be sufficient. Perhaps you've generated new IP and would like advice on how to create a spin out and how to protect that IP. Perhaps you need support to help carry out the market and IP assessments. One of the other complicated areas is software. So how do I commercialize my software? And if I'm a postdoc, where do I go with my business idea? Perhaps you'd like to directly collaborate with industry and know that a company out there has got a compound that would actually be useful to run in your assays to test a particular gene or target. Or perhaps you've got a model, a complex model, a patient model, 3D model that is suitable for compound screening. And actually you'd like to work with an industry partner to develop that model in a more industrial or higher throughput setting to screen. Or perhaps you've got a target that may be of interest to industry. And lastly, if you've already progressed and you've already got your idea, but actually you need more advice on how to set up the company, how to advance the technology development and management, you need maybe bigger pots of funding or more mentorship, more support, and maybe a life science accelerator is the place, then we've got some suggestions as well for that. So I'm going to go through each of these areas now and just give you a bit of a flavour of the kinds of things that exist in Cambridge if you have any of these questions. So starting with, you've got an idea for how your research can be applied. There's lots and lots of different organisations, events, things out there that you could actually take that idea forward. So for instance, there's iTeams, which it was run at the Institute for Manufacturing, but I think now is being run virtually. But this is where iTeams bring together a group of entrepreneurs and the brightest students in Cambridge to try and look at your idea and stress test it and find a commercially viable strategy that they can suggest back to you. So certainly the iTeams are looking for ideas now, and you can, if you look them up online and contact Amy, to send your ideas for that group of entrepreneurs to work on. There's a specific iTeams in partnership with Cambridge Academy of Therapeutic Sciences, which is around medical iTeams. So again, if you've got any ideas today that you think iTeams could be useful for, this is one opportunity for you to progress your idea and get some help and support into how that may be commercialised. There's also Impulse over at the Maxwell Centre for Tech Innovators, another programme that's really useful for early development of ideas. So Impulse is a catalyst for entrepreneurship for individuals and organisations. And again, it may be another option in this situation. There's also the Judge Business School, and particularly the Entrepreneurship Centre, which has a number of programmes, so Accelerate Cambridge, Ignite, Enterprise Tech. Definitely recommend going on their website and having a look at some of the different directions you could take with your ideas. So what about if you want to generate some pilot data and need a little bit of funding to do that, so that you can ask some go, no go questions about whether your idea is going to be translational or not? Again, there's a number of different opportunities to do that. So there's the Wellcome Trust Developing Concept Fund, which is funds projects of £50,000 for up to 9 months. And these are feasibility projects. There's also the Confidence in Concept scheme, which is run by the Office of Translational Research. Both these schemes are reviewed at a similar time. So the calls open in spring and then they are closed in August. So we just missed the last one, but certainly it would be worth looking at these for next year. And the purpose is clearly to try and translate some of the research that you might have in your lab and look at viability of the approach. And actually for the Confidence in Concept, it covers therapeutics, devices, diagnostics, and drug repurposing. So what about if you've generated new IP and would like advice around generating IP? Well, the first port of call could be, for instance, the postdoc business plan competition. I mean, certainly the first place to go would be to have a discussion with Cambridge Enterprise about the IP, and then Cambridge Enterprise have a number of different vehicles for you to progress. One of them is the postdoc business plan competition with small amounts of investment that's sponsored by Cambridge Enterprise and also Cambridge Innovation Capital. If you look on the Cambridge Enterprise website, really clear, there's lots of different investment options for startups or when you're starting to spin out. So from Pathfinder to try and just start to look at some IP, through to software Pathfinder, which is thinking about commercializing software, but then right up to bigger investments of up to 500k seed investment to provide the first stages of company funding to advance the idea and technology. What about collaborating with industry? So what if you know that a company's got a tool compound, or if you have a model? So there's a few different organisations or directions you could take here. So one of those is the Milner Therapeutics Consortium, who have a number of pharmaceutical companies who put money into the consortium each year to find researchers within Cambridge to collaborate with. And the nice thing about the consortium that's been set up mainly for preclinical projects is that there's a framework agreement in place with all of the terms and conditions pre-agreed, so that these things can be put in place in a more speedy fashion, and there's not long delays while terms and conditions and contracts, etc., are negotiated. So if you are interested in collaborating with any of the companies listed on this slide, and there's a couple more joining hopefully in the next couple of months, then perhaps the consortium is an option for you. The Office of Translational Research also are involved in partnership opportunities and will help introduce you to industry. The Office of Translational Research have got a really nice clinical focus as well. So obviously the Milner is much more preclinical focused. The OTR does do preclinical and basic research as well, but also has that really nice clinical focus too. And then, of course, there's lots of different opportunities through the individual companies. So often you'll see through the fantastic knowledge exchange network that there is in Cambridge different opportunities coming through. For instance, this recent one from Pfizer, which was a call in areas that Pfizer were looking for collaboration in Cambridge with. Whichever company you want, generally they will have their own scheme. It's worth talking to the Research Operations Office early if you're going to put in a research proposal to one of these organisations, because they'll be able to advise you on whether the terms and conditions are agreeable to the university as well. So almost any company, and AstraZeneca locally, they also have their open innovation portal as well. So and GSK as well had recently had a specific call for in functional genomics. So there's lots of different opportunities to collaborate with industry. And then finally, thinking about a bigger investment. So if you have got already maybe a spin out, or definitely your idea for a spin out, your proof of concept data, and you have a pitch and you're ready to go, then in Cambridge, we're really lucky. So we have Cambridge Innovation Capital sat in Cambridge, which recognises the potential of Cambridge and the phenomenal science that comes out of the university. And actually, Cambridge Innovation Capital has a unique affiliation to Cambridge and is a preferred investor for the University of Cambridge. But also perhaps you're more interested in being involved in an accelerator, and Start Codon, which we're really proud to have based in the Milner Therapeutics Institute, offers a £250,000 seed funding for life sciences companies that are interested in bootcamp, mentorship, all of the different network opportunities, and the expertise of Start Codon. First-class expertise of Jason and Dan and the team there. So certainly Start Codon is one place to look at. And of course, today, the event is sponsored by both Start Codon and the Illumina Accelerator, who now have a location in Cambridge. And I'm sure there'd be somebody here on the call today, you'll hear about Illumina a little bit more, that contact them if you are interested in genomics accelerator experience. And I know that Start Codon and Illumina are working close together to make sure that actually there is room for everyone and everyone's ideas in the accelerators in Cambridge. So that's just a quick romp through of who's who and what we do. And I hope that's been helpful in terms of putting these organisations in context of their funding opportunities and also some of the things they do in the Cambridge landscape. But again, as I mentioned, it's not comprehensive and there are lots of other opportunities out there as well. So please do contact any of us if you're interested. So just to give you a few words about the University Enterprise Zone. So the University Enterprise Zone has been set up with the vision of turning ideas at the interface between medicine and technology into reality for the benefit of society. And the idea here is that we need currently at this time, we need these interdisciplinary bridges that cross the different research areas, across the different campuses in Cambridge to bring us together so that we can all be working towards advances in healthcare technology. So we have a hub at the Maxwell Centre, we have a hub at the Milner, and the other members of the project team are Cambridge Academy of Therapeutic Sciences, Cambridge University Health Partners, the Office of Translational Research, and the Milner and the Maxwell. So I have just got 5 slides here just to give you a little bit of an idea of the organisations that are involved in the UEZ so that you can get a picture of us and what we do and the different things that we do. So the Milner has 2 strands. It has a physical space on the biomedical campus in the Geoffrey Cheer Biomedical Centre, and it also has a global alliance and consortium to interact with industry. And we sit at that interface between academia and industry, and in our space there's pharma companies and spin-out companies, the Start Code and Accelerator, there's academic researchers all working side by side at the bench towards transforming pioneering science into therapies. At the Maxwell Centre, the Maxwell's objectives are to carry out world-leading research in the physical sciences, which is why it's so important that we're linking in with the Maxwell Centre and all of the activities that they do there as a centre. They are a centrepiece for industrial engagement in West Cambridge. So it's really important that the therapeutics work that's going on in South Cambridge is linked in to the engineering and diagnostics and medtech work that's going on in West Cambridge as well. The Office of Translational Research, of course, is sat on the Addenbrooke's campus and very much focused on the clinical school, but does reach much more broadly than that and has experience in interdisciplinary research. And their main aims and objectives are clearly to translate research that is going on in the university base from bench to bedside by helping with funds, facilities and expertise. And in fact, the Office of Translational Research, as well as the Competence in Concept Awards and some of the smaller awards, I've got a lot of experience and success in applying for larger funding pots, maybe through EPSRC or Innovate or other funding pots. So definitely worth a discussion with them if you're thinking about a translational research project. Of course, Cambridge Academy of Therapeutic Sciences is one of many fantastic strategic research initiatives across the university. And the specific remit of Cambridge Academy of Therapeutic Sciences is to bring together the therapeutic sciences across the whole university. So that's West, South, Mid Cambridge, in partnership with industry to drive new research, training opportunities. And really nice, unique thing about CATS is that they're also involved in policy development. And finally, of these 5 partners that are currently delivering the University Enterprise Zone, it's Cambridge University Health Partners, who are based again on the Addenbrooke's campus. And their role also is to connect people and collaborate to make things happen so that they can change lives. And again, Cambridge University Health Partners much more focused in bringing in the hospital and the clinicians and everything that goes on the Addenbrooke's campus. So again, another organisation that's well worth discussing your translational ideas with. So I'm just going to finish by talking about the next steps in the University Enterprise Zone, because I think it would be great if everybody who's here today could get involved in that. So as part of the University Enterprise Zone bid to Research England, we said that we would deliver a physical UEZ to join the dots between people in Cambridge, so that it wasn't a matter of who you knew to get investment, but everybody could find out the direction, the place they needed to go to get the funding that they needed. And one of the most important things for us was to be able to create a network of networks between other organisations like One Nucleus, like Cambridge Ahead, like Cambridge Network, all of these fantastic organisations, making sure that we were just talking really easily and connecting with each other between businesses and academia. Now, of course, COVID-19 did put a little bit of a spanner in the works in terms of creating this physical university enterprise zone, because it was mainly built on networking and connecting, and of course we couldn't do that anymore. So we have changed the physical UEZ into a digital UEZ. And so we have a number of reasons for doing this, which you can read through at your leisure. But the main thing is to connect everybody across Cambridge to make sure we can find the right person that we need to find in Cambridge. We've got a platform that we'll be launching within the next month. You can see on here who's been involved in that. Most of the people that I've talked about today have been involved in that, and many, many more, to make sure that actually we are all connected in Cambridge and can all find each other, and we are a complete network of networks that understands entirely what is going on in the Cambridge cluster and can access it really efficiently. So thank you very much for listening. It's been fantastic to be able to talk about all of these funding opportunities in Cambridge today and pull them together in one presentation, because it really does show the breadth of what's on offer in Cambridge. And I'd like to just finish by saying that the University Enterprise Zone exists. Please get in touch with us. Please think about joining the platform when we launch in a month, because we're joining the dots so that you can find funding opportunities in Cambridge.